Today you see a beautiful shirt. It could also be a shirt dress, whatever you prefer. It's way easier to sew than what you think with raglan sleeves. Beautiful, delicate features. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and I'm coming to you from my parents' backyard still. I'm still in Chile. We have grapes here, lots of little grapes. These are going to be ready in about a month's time, so I won't get to taste them. I never do. What I have for you today is a new pattern from Itch to Stitch called Majorelle shirt or shirt dress. Love the line art as soon as I saw it. I'm going to just start describing from the top down. It is a shirt or a shirt dress. We have a banded collar here. In this banded collar, as an option, you can add a ruffle that's sandwiched between the two layers of the banded collar, so you get a higher neckline there. I think that's cute. It is an option. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. And then you have a button down feature, of course. The only difference between the shirt and the shirt dress is that the hem for the dress is longer. It's on the same pattern piece. So the sewing would be actually exactly the same. It's just that the side seams would be longer. The button placket here is very easy to sew because it's integrated into the front piece. So you don't have to deal with another pattern piece for the button placket. Super easy. And then for the sleeves, easy. Raglan sleeves, love them. Raglan sleeves have a shoulder dart to give you that curve of the shoulder right there. It is for wovens. So that shoulder seam is usually there when you have a woven raglan sleeve. All around the neckline here and all these pieces, including the raglan sleeves, you're going to have a little bit of extra ease that you're going to gather in to that banded collar. I think is really delicate, really beautiful. And that's how you're going to get the space to fit the bust, but from up here. Nicely shaped, you know, goes in at the waist, goes out at the hips. It's got a curved hem. It's a long sleeve design. At the bottom, with the same piece, you just do a hem that becomes a casing and you put a small elastic in there, and that's how you finish it. I don't see any reason why you can't cut the sleeve shorter and make it short sleeves if you want to. Easy peasy. It's not an official option, but it would be as easy as doing it short sleeves if you wanted. Whenever Itch to Stitch has a new pattern release, it's on a 20% discount for the first week, so it goes through Sunday the 28th of January. You can always find my affiliate link in the description box and in the pinned comments, very easy to find. If you do click on there and go over to the website and make your purchase, I receive a small commission. It's one of the ways I make an income making all these videos on YouTube, and you don't pay anything extra. So if you want to support my work that way, I'd be really grateful. It's beautiful. This test came up during my stay here in Chile, and I was quite fortunate enough to have only one choice of fabric that was actually going to work. For fabric, light to medium weight woven fabrics are recommended. Because of all the gathered features over here, I would always prefer something with drape along the lines of rayon, lightweight 100% rayon, rayon challis. A rayon crepe is a little heavier, same as a rayon twill, tencel twill, a silk. Those would be my first choices. But then if you don't mind having a bit more volume in your design, you know, you could always use a chambray, a lightweight shirting, a very, very lightweight denim might work, cotton lawn, those types of materials. You need a small amount of fusible interfacing for the center front here, the button placket, and for one layer of the banded collar. And then you need some buttons, around 8 buttons, a little bit of elastic that's 3/8 of an inch wide for your wrist, but very, very small amounts of those notions required. I mentioned that I only had one fabric choice. When I traveled to see my parents, I brought with me 2 cuts of fabric. Both were rayon linen blends, rayon 87%, 13% linen. One was a lovely red and white polka dots that you saw a few days ago, and the other one was a mainly black with white flowers, and I'm glad it was perfect. I had enough for a shirt, not enough to make a dress. I do have more of the same fabric back at home, but I didn't bring the full amount, so you might see the same fabric later on made up in another garment. For the sizing, from 00 to 40 US, goes up to a 62-inch hip. And with this one, there aren't specific bust cup sizes here. We have a regular bust and a full bust option. Itch to Stitch has a cutoff at the C sewing cup size, which means the difference from your high bust circumference and your full bust circumference is 3 inches. So if you have up to 3, you can use the regular. If you have 3 or more, you can use the full bust option. Because I'm right there, I could go either or. I always prefer the full bust option. I think it's drafted really well to fit my shape, you know, in this block. So for Itch to Stitch, I always go with the full bust option because I'm right there at the 3-inch difference, the sewing seat cup size, and that will just give you more space, a little more gathers up here and space for the bust in comparison to the standard bust option. So it's very easy to fit. For ease, it's semi-fitted. I wouldn't say it's super loose or super fitted. You have about 4 or 5 inches of positive ease around the bust, a little bit more at the waist, and then at the hips around 4.5 inches of positive ease. I think the drafted ease into this design is perfect, just perfect for the design. And if you want it longer, the dress is going to reach above the knee. I would have had to lengthen mine quite a bit if I wanted it to be above the knee, but I didn't sew the dress in this opportunity. I just sewed the shirt. Fitting adjustments, I made absolutely none whatsoever, other than blending sizes, which I don't think is like a fitting adjustment. It's just choosing the size that you need for each part of your body. So I have a 12 with the full bust option for the bust, blended out to a 14 at the waist, blended out to a 16 at the hips. That's what is going to give me the correct fit. So, you know, when I plot my measurements down, that's where they land on this size chart. Remember, each designer has their own size chart. With other brands, I sometimes sew a straight size. With this to stitch, I'm always doing a size smaller at the bust and one larger at the hips. You know, it just all depends. Just make sure you check for each pattern, for each brand, what you are for that designer, and then you always be good. Don't just assume you're the same size everywhere, because that's just not how it works. I kept the length of the shirt exactly the same, the length of the sleeves exactly the same, but in hindsight, I should have added an extra inch to the length of the sleeves. I forgot one little detail. When I measured the sleeve pattern, I thought, yeah, it's perfect. But because there's an elastic casing in here, you usually want there to be a little extra length so you get a little bit of blousing here. I think that looks really nice. And at the moment, I'm just getting a sleeve that is at the correct length without any blousing. So when I make this again, I'll be sure to add that extra inch to the sleeve. But that's just personal fitting, you know, my arms are long, on you it would probably be okay. For the sewing, when this pattern came up, I put it up as one of the options in the poll for this month's sew along on Patreon, and it won the vote. So I have the full sew along on Patreon. So I'm going to show you general construction, focusing a little bit more about the neckline gathers and the banded collar. It's not a complex sew at all. You know, raglan sleeves are always easy to sew in. It's not like the regular sleeve where you have to do gathering stitches, nothing like that. So it'll be a fun sew. I'm sure you're gonna like it. These are very classic design and it was so enjoyable. For this blouse, there aren't many pattern pieces that need to be interfaced, which makes the preparation phase a little shorter. This is the banded collar. I like this because it comes with an extended piece already, so it's not a piece that you have to cut on the fold, which I love. And we only need to interface one layer. So I'm going to block fuse. I have a slightly larger piece of fabric here. This layer that you're seeing here has already got the interfacing fuse done, and the layer underneath hasn't got it. So I'm going to cut both layers out at the same time. Everything's pinned, and I'm going to cut carefully around there, and that will mean that both of these layers will end up being exactly the same. There are quite a few marks here along this bottom edge to match up the shoulder dart and the raglan seams, so make sure you transfer all those marks onto here. And then the other piece that needs interfacing is the center front of the front piece. Is the center front. So this is the front piece right there. Along this straight edge, we need to interface 1 inch wide here. So all I did was cut a long strip that's 1 inch. This is non-stretch, lightweight interfacing, and this is how we're going to make the button placket because it's just an extension of the front piece, so it's included in the front piece. Only 4 pieces for the Majorelle shirt or shirt dress. This is the front here. This has an integrated button placket, which means it's just wider and it's going to be folded onto itself. Very easy to sew, no other special piece there. And then this is the back. The back is cut on the fold. That is the banded collar. Now all of this area of the neckline here, including the front, the back, and the top of the raglan seams, are going to be gathered into that collar right there. On the top over here, there is a shoulder dart. And here are the long raglan sleeves. At the bottom, we're just going to form a casing with the same hem and thread an elastic through. The first actual sewing step has got to do with doing the placket on the front, the button placket. So we know we have this little bit interfaced. On the pattern, we're going to have a line here and a line there. I basically measured that distance and drew a line with a friction pen all the way here. But I need to see that from the right side, and I've got a black fabric. So I've gone ahead and marked it with a friction pen first, but then I marked it with thread so that I can really see what I'm doing. What I'm going to do is fold this in at that line. It's approximately 2 inches from the edge of the center right here. So I just find it easier to fold this one first. Now I'm just going to open this up. I already have that memory crease. And now I'm just going to get this and fold it up to that fold right there. This is the part that's interfaced already. Now we can fold this again and we have our placket. It's basically just consisting of 3 layers of fabric here plus the interfacing. So that's what's going to make it sturdier, and that's all you need for your button placket. I think this is the easiest way to do it. It's so easy. Now at the sewing machine, we need to sew on the edge right here and fix it down. This is how that seam looks like from the right side of the blouse. It's quite discreet. This is the top of one of the sleeve pieces, and here on the shoulder we're going to have a dot. It's been marked there with a friction pen. And I like sewing from the tip over to the wide side of the dot. This is because I feel I have total control of where the needle will go in to the fabric, and I can make sure it's right on the edge. And we're not going to back tuck here. We're going to leave some thread and knot it by hand. I've got here on the table are my 2 front pieces. These are the center fronts right there. You can see because it's a darker part of the fabric. Over here is the Raglan armhole with a single notch. So I'm going to take my Raglan sleeve and find the side that has a single notch right there, which is this side right there. And I'm going to pin that together right there. That will unite the Raglan sleeve front piece with the armhole. And on this other side the same. So I'm going to find the side of the Raglan sleeve with a single notch and match those up right there. Right there, and get those 2 little seams sewn and serged. Here are these 2 sections, a front, a sleeve, another front, and a sleeve. So these areas of the sleeve that are still free are the back part of the sleeve. Now we need to bring our back piece, which is just 1 piece on the fold right here, and pin it right here and right there, and we'll have 2 more seams in the same way that we've just done. Okay, here are all the seams done. The front, the Raglan sleeve, or the back piece, which is 1 piece, another sleeve, and another front right there. So now we get this neckline over here. At this point, keeping all the seam allowances in the direction they're supposed to go, we're going to do 2 gathering stitches there. That will help us bring this all in to fit the length of the banded collar in a second. I'm going to do this from the wrong side of the garment up so I can see my seam allowance as well. And I'm going to do this first row at 1/4 inch. I'm going to start a little further from this button placket because I don't want gathers right up to there, so maybe 3/8 away from there. And I'm going to go all the way around using a long stitch length here. I can see the seam allowances, I can see the direction of the dots, so I want to keep it all neat. I'm going to do the second row at 5/8 from the edge because the seam allowance we're going to use to sew in this collar is going to be 1/2 inch. Here we have our band collar pieces. This is the interface side, this is the non-interface side. Now I'm going to be sewing my collar in the reverse so that at the last point when I'm top stitching, I'm doing it on the right side of the garment. I'm going to do a guide stitch at 1/2 inch over here and then press this in like this so that that's ready, and then I'm going to sew the 2 pieces together. So now this is going to help me press this up. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, I've drawn with a friction pen carefully the 1/2 inch seam allowance around this curve, and for a little bit over here and for a little bit over there, so that's nice and accurate. Now if you want to sew the ruffle version, you would have the ruffle made, which is just a rectangle that's gathered in, and you would have sandwiched it between these 2 layers before doing this step over here. But this and this would all continue being the same. It's just there would be a little ruffle in there. I'm not doing the ruffle option. I think I would feel it on my neck and it would be uncomfortable for me. Although I think it looks cute, I'm just keeping it simple. I'm trying to be as careful as I can while I'm sewing this. As you can see, I decided to hand base this right on the edge just to keep it all stable, nothing moving. I think this would be harder to do with the pins. Now this is definitely too much seam allowance to keep in here. So I'm going to trim it down to about 1/2, about 1/4 inch in here. Over here on this curved area, I'm going to cut away little triangle notches, and this is going to reduce the bulk once we flip this to the other side. Okay, here's the collar all prepared and neat, ready to be sewn onto the neckline. So we're going to put it like this. This is the side that's going to be sewn onto the neckline. Along the bottom, there are so many marks that are going to match the seams of the Raglan sleeves, the shoulder dart, the center back, all of that. And now we're going to take the neckline. I have the neckline wrong sides up here. I'm just going to fold the back piece in half and mark with a pin where the center back is so I can match that to the collar. And this is where I'm going to pin this. I'm going to pin it like this so that I can see the reference marks, but then I'm going to turn this around so I can move the gathers on this side. Next, we have a little line here that is going to match the raglan sleeve seam right here. That's going to go there. You can see the excess. This is the next line I've marked right there. That's going to match the shoulder dart seam right there. Next we have another line that's going to match this other raglan seam over here, and then all this rest is going to be gathered here. So this edge of the collar is going to match the edge right here. You can see the little fold, it's going to reach the edge. Remember, the placket is already sewn, so there's quite a bit to gather right here, a lot right there, a little less around the top of the raglan seam. And so I'm going to pin the other side, matching up all the references as well. And then we're going to flip this so we can see the gathering on the top. Okay, I flipped everything to have the neckline on the top and the collar unit on the bottom, because this is how we're going to gather now. I'm going to gather from one end into the center and the same on the other side. So over here, I'm going to start pulling threads and trying to match up the length of this neckline to the collar that's underneath. This is actually the only part of the shirt that's a little fiddlier to work with. Not that it's hard, it's just fiddly. Now we're going to sew it. The collar is going to be underneath. Remember, we have a single layer here that we need to sew. All this other business needs to be kept out of the way. And of course, we need the gathers on top so we can see what we're doing and we can manage them while we sew. Gathers on the top, collar on the bottom. And now the seam allowance is just going to go up inside the collar right here. And this is where we get our interface side that's going to come over and cover the seam on the right side of the garment. After that's all tidy, I'm going to top stitch. And I don't need to worry because this is already sewn in from the inside. So I'm not worried about not catching anything in here. There's the banded collar basted in. It's covering the seam. It's all very neat. That's how it looks like from the inside, and along the whole neckline we have all those gathers into this banded collar. I don't have any special presser feet to help me with edge stitching, so I'm just doing it old school and just making it neat freehand. I like doing it like this because I like top stitching from here, knowing that the inner collar inside is already sewn on and safe. Then on the back, it's all neat. You don't need to worry because this seam was already sewn in to begin with. So there's no worries about not catching anything, and it's very, very neat. Okay, after doing the memory crease at the bottom of the sleeve, now we just need to sew the side seam and the seam of the sleeve in one go. It's like setting in a sleeve on the flat, basically. So that seam is going to include everything, and we're going to go through the seams of the raglan sleeve right there and then down, and that will essentially finish the construction. Then we have a hem to do, and then buttonholes and buttons. So once you get to this stage, everything is super simple from now on. This is my Majorelle shirt. Look, I know you would see the design features a lot more if this was a solid fabric, but again, I'm not at home. I know if I was at home and had my full collection of fabrics, I would have loved to pick out a sort of denim looking tencel twill that I have back home. I have one in a blue tone, beautiful. It would have been perfection. Then you would have seen everything, but you know, this is okay. It is still inappropriate fabric, and when I show you this from the inside out, you'll see all the seam lines. But this is the banded collar over here. It's very neat. The outer layer is the one that's interfaced, the inner layer is the one that's not interfaced, and here you can see all the gathers. See, it's all gathered all the way up to here where the button placket is. And it's very, very nice. Now, if you want to, you can put a buttonhole button all the way up. I would never wear something buttoned up like that. I would be very uncomfortable with that, although it looks cute. So I started my buttonholes a little further down, like here. Remember, when I'm going to do my buttonholes, when I'm at that stage, I always try on my shirt with the proper bra, not like a sports bra or a bralette. And I put a pin right here where my bust height is. I want to make sure there's a button exactly there. And that is my reference, and then I measure up and then I measure down. That's how I get it to not gape. So my buttons are 2 3/8 in separation here. Dark, tiny little black buttons, nothing special there. They blend in very well with the print. You can't even see them. So the buttons are not a feature right here, they're just something for function. As an option, you could have also used snaps here instead of buttons. In the pattern it's mentioned, but I don't have snaps here and I would rather just use buttons. Over here we have raglan seams that you'll see better from the inside, and here is the little casing with a little elastic. I always make sure to measure this against my wrist and have quite a nice amount of ease so that I can never feel anything tight around my wrist, because it's a delicate area, you know. So you can see it's very, very comfortable, and I'm quite happy. The back is simple, it's just cut on the fold, and we have a curved hem right there. Very nice. It was only 4 pattern pieces, so the preparation phase didn't take that long. The pieces that needed to be interfaced didn't take that long, so it was so good. Okay, the inside of the blouse is a lighter tone, so there you can see the raglan sleeve over here. Right here on the back as well, we have the raglan seams, and the shoulder dart is right there, and then all of this gathered into the banded collar. Very nice. That's how the button placket looks like on the inside, and the curved hem. So let's see this one on. The styling a little bit boring with a black skirt. I don't have options. I don't have nice bags and shoes. Yeah, you'll see it on, it'll be nice, but you won't see it several ways like I do it when I'm at home. So let's see it on. This is my Majorelle shirt from Itch to Stitch. This can also be a shirt dress if you want. You can add a sash. I've just sewn the shorter version. There's a curved hem, as you can see, and there are lovely details that you'll see up closer. I've done a full bust option, size 12 bust, 14 waist, 16 hips. At the bottom of the long sleeve, there's a little casing with an elastic, super easy finish. It's all done within the same pattern piece. As you can see, there's a banded collar finish on the neckline, and below there we have a neckline that's all gathered into that collar all the way around. Raglan sleeves here, super easy to sew. There's a shoulder dart for shaping. If you wanted to, you could put a little ruffle inside the collar. That's an option. I just kept mine simple. I would never button it up, so I don't actually have a buttonhole there or a button. I'm gonna wear mine open, and I have 8 buttons going down. It fits really, really well. It's easy to fit because the space for the bust goes above the bust from the neckline down. Look at how gorgeous these gathers look all around the neckline. Here's a look at the back. I think this is so precious. I really love this detail. These are Rayon linen blend, so everything drapes beautifully. It was only 4 pattern pieces. Didn't take days and days to sew. I can't wait to make this one in a denim looking tencel twill. That would be amazing. This time, because I'm traveling, this was my only choice of fabric, but I absolutely love it. I'm very happy. It was very nice to sew. It didn't take that long to sew, like several days, and it's so beautiful, so delicate. I wish I would have had another type of fabric in a solid to show off the details a little bit more, but I'm still very happy. I know I'm going to sew this again, and yeah, I'm so happy to share my version. Remember that you can make up your own options as well. Make it short sleeves if you want to, do the shirt dress if you want to, add that optional little ruffle up there if you want to. There's a few different things that you can choose to do than what I've shown you. These were just my choices right here. Highly recommend, as always. Don't forget to check out the Majorelle shirt and shirt dress, and it's on sale till the 28th of January. I'll see you soon one more time from my parents' backyard, and then I'll be back home in the sweaty place that is Brazil, where I live in. So see you then. Have an amazing rest of your day.